First Responders, presented by Home Services Web Design. Alliance for the Brave, serving and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
In the air everywhere around America, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring education, information, and communication to today's veterans, active duty military, first responders, and American patriots who'll join us. I'm Jim Blythe, a certified senior advisor and your host, and joining me, my partner, the number one, the only,
yes, sir,
boom, boom,
yes, sir, yes, sir.
London Mason.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Fine. Army Artillery.
You are always pumped up. That's the one thing that I know about you. Like when you called me this week, and I had no clue of what you were going to talk about other than radio, which is great. And I answered the phone, hello, and you go, hey!
I got to tell you.
That's a wake-up call, man. I love it.
We need to be positive. We need to be going forward.
Yeah.
And we've got a very, very, very special guest, my sister. Well, not really my sister, but a lady that I have known, Diane and I have known for a long time, who is an incredible human being. I would like to introduce you to Miss Charlynn John. Charlynn, good day. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I am up and ready and expecting my third granddaughter tomorrow.
Hey, congratulations, Charlynn.
Wow. How
yes.
exciting. Your third
wow.
one. Wow.
Yeah. So big weekend for me.
You know,
Yeah.
Charlynn, I've known you a long time. I didn't think you were old enough to have grandchildren.
How old are the first two?
My first one she is turning 11 this month.
Uh-huh.
And my youngest son had a pandemic baby January 10th, 2020, and this is their second daughter.
Nice.
So they'll be the same age difference as my two sons, as he and his brother. So that's really kind of cool thing to be happy.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Charlynn, I think it's so cool for people to know a little bit about you and your commitment to save lives. As long as I've known you, that you're an ordained minister, you've traveled throughout the world, bringing a unique style of presenting the gospel and Jesus Christ and his message. You are one of the most involved people I have ever seen in my entire life. And so I think it's really important to tell people just a little bit about your background to segue in what you're doing now with Stop One and suicide prevention.
Well, thank you. I got into full-time ministry 25 years ago. Hard to believe. That was just about the time I met you, Jim. And we started out working 90% overseas with orphans and people with disabilities or impacted by war or trauma. So that led up to, in 2008, I'm still involved with a ministry that serves families impacted by disability. In 2008, they started working in the San Antonio area and serving the wounded soldiers that were coming back from the Iraq and Afghanistan conflict. So it remains one of the very few faith-based military offerings out there that ministers to the whole family. So I just participated in my 21st getaway since 2008 with with warriors and their families. So again, that stands as something really unique in the country, and it just broke my heart. I mean, I had been in some of the worst places in the world, and when I saw what was going on in the military community with these families that were returning to these, some catastrophic injuries, and they couldn't find resources or they didn't know where to start because this huge traumatic event had impacted the families. And I think, for a civilian, we have no idea what occurs when a service member is wounded overseas, that a family gets the call in the middle of the night, and many times they have to uproot their whole life, and that includes their children that are going to school, and fly to, at the time it was Brooke Army Medical Center or Walter Reed, fly up there and live out of a hotel room or a small furnished apartment for, 2 or 3 or 4 kids, find school systems to re-enroll their children. I mean, I had no idea that was what happened. And then when you combine that with finding out about the suicide impact on these returning families, it was heartbreaking. So we got a grant to start work in the military community, and we started by developing a website of resources, and it's still up and running today. BattleBuddyInfo.com is the quickest way to get there, but and it was designed by the warriors and the caregivers for the warriors and the caregivers. So it has no fancy bells and whistles or anything like that. So that's really how I got involved in the veteran community initially. And then 3 years ago, in 2018, a call came in to the Veteran Resource Center, and Ken Watterson, the founder, retired veteran. He's a Marine, so I can't say he's a retired Marine. He took the call. He took the call, and it was a suicidal female veteran. And he was able to connect her to a female veteran volunteer that was working there, and she was taken care of and kept safe and directed to the right resources. But what happened was Ken realized that if I don't know how to handle this call with my experience as a Marine, as a Vietnam veteran, dealing with homeless veterans, he said there's a lot of people out there that don't know what to do. So he charged me with trying to come up with a solution. So that's how Stop One was born.
I think it's amazing to note that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. 10th leading cause. We've got an epidemic right now, not only in veteran suicide, but Charlynn, it goes across the entire nation. Right now, we've got an epidemic in teenage suicide. We have other suicide as a result of the isolation from the COVID pandemic. And so what we're talking about, while it's oriented towards veterans and their families, you got to pay attention. It's a nationwide problem. It's not a cultural problem. It's across the board, not just veterans. So we want to dig into this and help people understand a little bit more about it. And let me tell you, guys, London, you are a peer support network, and you take the calls for the suicide prevention. Tell us. Yeah,
it's a very, very interesting job that I have now. Very unique, very new. And of course, peer support. We operate in the event of just really coaching and walking alongside veterans that struggle with whatever type of goals they're trying to create a new wellness plan. But what my job is now is over the phone, and it's a little challenging because it's on the phone. But I'm grateful that I've had some training to do it. But same type of thing. It's speaking to them, letting them know that I'm a veteran just like they are. And that's really what veterans really want to do, because we get the referrals from the Veterans Crisis Line. They send it to us, and we're able to try to impart into them, try to build rapport, try to figure out what it is that we can encourage them to do. When was the last time that you had a great day, and what energized you this week? To try to think on the positive things to get them moving in a direction to where they can remember something great that they've done to add to their wellness recovery.
Now, one of the things that I think is important right now, I want everybody to be aware of, where can you go, Charlynn, to get the Stop One information? Tell us about that website. It's one of the most comprehensive I've ever seen.
You can go to Stop One, and that's spelled out ONE.info. And what Stop One is and does is it serves as a curation of suicide prevention training and education. If you go to the virtual classes tab, you'll see all the virtual classes that we have taped that you can access online. You'll see upcoming virtual classes, and we are using the public health approach, which is to not necessarily, you're not focusing on the person with the disease, let's say like in heart disease. You're not focusing on that. We're focusing on everyone surrounding the veteran. That's the entire community. So suicide prevention, as you said, education is universal. What you learn to recognize applies to any case scenario, any demographic out there. So just go to stopone.info and look at the classes and, go through the site, because it tells you right up front, this is a 10-minute read, this is a 2-minute video, this is a 7-minute video you can watch. And again, we're working to get away from the narrative of 22 a day, or how many ever a day you want to come up with, and say you can be the person that stops one person, and that might just be you.
Charlynn, I got a question for you. So those that are, have joined you in this fight, what a great fight you guys are fighting. Is it a mixture of family members and veterans, or is it just veterans that work with you guys to do this, to accomplish?
Well, we're very close partners with the Military Veteran Peer Network, which is part of the Texas Veterans Commission. They help us run some of the trainings. They do moral injury and counseling on access to lethal means, military cultural competency, things like that. And we also work very closely with Cohen, the Stephen A. Cohen Military and Family Clinic. So we just did 2 trainings with ASSIST, which is Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, and we had 23 veteran service organizations represented, 3 police departments represented, as well as the VA police. So it's a wide range of people who access the website and the services that we provide.
Miss Charlynn, I have to say this real quick, Jim.
Yeah.
Miss Charlynn, we're going to have to sit down. Me, you, and Jim, we are going to have to sit down, have some lunch. We're going to have to do something, because everything that you just mentioned, moral injury, lethal means training, all of these different things are things that I'm active in currently right now in my role. So I would love to definitely sit down with you even off of this and really get your ideas on this. This is awesome.
You got a new partner. Let me kind of bring this home very quickly before we go to the break. We've got a problem, as I said, in this nation, but I personally have witnessed or been through 3 people that committed suicide. I didn't see the actual suicide, but let me tell you something. It tears up the family. So when we come back, we're going to talk about suicide prevention in ways you never thought of. This is Jim Blythe in London Mason. We're talking with Charlynn Johns about suicide prevention, mental health, and helping stop one more suicide. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, and I want to say thank you to not only London and Atoya, to my beautiful wife, Diane, to Chris O'Sullivan, who's waving at me, my engineer, Robin Valtudo. Thank you for being our executive director, and the new Alliance for the Brave, Fred McKinnon in Norfolk. We'll be right back after these words from all of our partners. This is Alliance for the Brave. live on Facebook, and so we can have the off-radio conversation. I think this is just incredible that we're bringing this to the forefront, letting more people know. So I want to go back, guys, when we have this next short segment. And Charlynn, you've got my outline there, I hope.
Yes, I do. I have it pulled up.
Okay.
I'm following along.
Well, I'm not doing real good. I mean, I kind of let things happen as they happen. But one of the big things we want to talk about is digging deeper to help that and go into a little bit of depth about the training, what you're doing, what the webinars are, how people can get this. And we want to keep focusing people to come to Stop One, also to go to the suicide prevention hotline.
Yeah. And to just add to that, there's a resource locator that, within your own local community, you can go to www.veteranscrisisline.net/get-help/local resources. So that's a huge network across this whole globe that you can actually go on that website and get a local resource in any service that you would need.
All right, so I'm going to be out of town Thursday. What day next week are we going to have lunch? Well, you're going to be celebrating the new grandchild.
Yeah.
You're going to be real busy being grandma.
Next week's probably not a good week, but the following week I could circle back.
Well, let's do
Come
it.
back around.
Let's do it. I think this is one of the most important things that I think is going on right now in the veteran community is helping people and coming together. Because of the 3 suicides, one of them, two of them, I was pretty sure that they were headed that direction. And I didn't know what to say or didn't know what to do. One of them was just out of the blue. And I think that there are, when we come back, also, I want to talk about some of the triggers, some of the signs to be looking for when people, family members, because, man, we come back, I want to tell people about the devastation to the family that I saw as a result of suicide.
Charlynn, I have a question for you about, you mentioned moral injury. What is your training looking like on the individuals that, I guess, train on that or share information about it? What are you guys talking about in terms of moral injury?
Well, I think that the term moral injury is just now kind of coming to the forefront in many ways, like PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder kind of started coming to the forefront in this conflict.
Okay, guys, we're getting ready to go back on the air. So let's renew
moral injury.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to be back on the air in just a second. Hey, Chris, that was great, the ways we took out last time. You did a fantastic job.
Well, when you're the sheriff of this town, I have to do what you say, Sheriff. I don't want to go to jail.
At one point in my life, I was a deputy U.S. Marshal.
Wait, what? I have to hear this.
Yeah, that's another time. That's another time.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, thank you for being on board with me. I have 2 absolute phenomenal experts in mental health and suicide prevention. London Mason, my co-host, who is a peer network, and you work for the VA, and you handle the suicide calls. And then Charlynn with Stop One, you've developed this incredible training program, an incredible program. But let me tell you, what a lot of people don't realize, not only is how huge this epidemic is, but the devastating effects on the family. Until you have been close to somebody who's committed suicide and you see what happens to their children, you see what happens to their spouse, you can't believe the devastation. You almost want to say, if you could resurrect that person and let them see what they did and how it affects their family, they wouldn't do it. Now, that's a ridiculous statement, but I got to tell you, the pain is unbelievable. So we're trying to not only stop that one, but we're trying to stop the devastation that happens to a family when that suicide comes. Let me give you the most horrible thing that I've ever heard is I interviewed a lady, and she is incredible. She's right here in Dallas, whose husband was a Marine, came home, dropped his ditty bag. It was his daughter's birthday. She was like 5 or 6 years old. He goes in the bedroom, pulls out a .45 and takes his own life. Mm-hmm. Right there, the day he came home, in front of his children.
Right.
The devastation to those girls. I have met that family. Those girls and their mother do everything they can to help prevent suicide. This is something that we've got to be working on as a family. So let's go back and you were asking a question about moral injury.
Just to what you're saying, and I'll segue into it. The moral injury portion of this is, the morality of what we've grown up with, what we were taught, right from wrong. And all of these things move into the life experience of what we've experienced in the military. And it can be a mixture of PTSD, as Charlynn was just mentioning, and the moral injury part that can really be misunderstood of what it is, because the moral part of that is what we've grown up with. And sometimes people don't want to do what they're charged to do in the service. But so my question to you, Charlynn, as we were saying on the break, how is the training? What does that look like in terms of moral injury for you guys?
Well, first, the difference, one of the biggest difference between moral injury and PTSD is PTSD is a trauma, fear-based occurrence. Moral injury is shame-based. Mm-hmm. So as you were saying that people, what your convictions are, your foundational right and wrong, good and evil, those things, when you're asked to do something that breaks that moral code, that is considered a moral injury. And part of that is in reducing the stigma and the shame associated with seeking treatment and seeking help for mental health crisis. And one of the biggest ways to start that is to educate the public in the language that's appropriate to use in that scenario. We've all grown up and are quick to use the term committed suicide. That implies a crime has been committed. Suicide was illegal, and in many states you could be put in jail for a suicide attempt. And so having that language, appropriate language, someone died by suicide or someone succumbed to suicide, is probably an easier way to get out of that shame culture. What we try to do with moral injury, and you can go online and watch Domingo Rodriguez, our military veteran peer trainer, his moral injury. Look, you can go online and watch that and learn more about it. I told someone about the website who lost a son to suicide 4 years ago. She is not a veteran, has no connection with veterans, in the community. She went online, looked at it, and she called me and she said, my life is changed. And
all right, Charlynn, let's talk about that when we come back from the break. You're listening to Alliance of the Brave. We're here to make your life better and prevent one more suicide. This is Jim Blythe, London Mason with Charlynn Johns at Stop One. I wish you were here, because this is perfect for a clown to be part of this comedy.
There you go.
Huh? I mean, that's wild. I'll never forget, Charlynn, the first time I met you, you were wearing clown face and clown costume.
Yeah, I think I had just come back from Russia or was just getting ready to go to Russia. I came into your Sunday school group. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were like, I was like, holy cow, that was probably 25 years ago.
Probably close to it.
You know, and you've been to Africa, you've been to where? India? China?
India, Israel, Bolivia, Sri Lanka, Russia.
What was your most favorite place to go?
Oh, I got to tell you, Africa is my favorite place to go. I've been to Africa a lot of times, and to Ghana and to Kenya, to Tanzania, and the spirit of the people there, boy, is just astounding. It is my favorite place on earth, easily.
Okay. I got to tell you, I got to speak at a group of Nigerian people that are part of the businessmen's gospel. I was amazed, and these men and women were doctors, lawyers, accountants, Nigerian, all of them, all came to America to have a better life. It was incredible, and their spirit-filled worship service that I got to speak at was just, I was amazed. I was amazed. And I think that I would love maybe to go to Africa. I do have a friend here in Dallas that up until COVID went back, his native home is Vietnam, and he's invited me to go to Vietnam with him.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at allianceforthebrave.com. And now back to Alliance for the Brave.
Well, welcome back. We're having a whole lot of fun today, but we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about the importance of stopping one suicide. It saves a family. It saves a life. We've got an epidemic in this country. The VA says we have 22 plus a day committing suicide. You are dedicated to suicide prevention, London. Mm-hmm. And Charlynn, you have so much experience, and you've developed this wonderful website, Stop One. Tell people again where they can go to get that information.
You can go to stopone.info and look at our virtual classes, look at the trainings that we have recorded that are up there. And as I was saying earlier, this past week, someone went to the website, watched the moral injury video, and called me and said, wow, I had never understood why my son took his own life. And watching that video, I realized that he was suffering from moral injury. Mm-hmm. And so it's things like that, you don't know what you don't know. And so we're really working hard and fast to get the information out to the community, let people know there are resources for help. There are mental health providers. There's the technology that's out there. Before, the current wave of apps and technology and all that kind of stuff, you were kind of stuck on looking in the yellow pages to try to figure out, or, calling an operator or calling 911. But now you can get help, and you can know how to help before that crisis is reached. And we're really trying to get that message out. You can find help, and you can save lives.
Mm-hmm. Two of the suicides that I was close to the people who committed suicide, it was real obvious. And one of them, I told Dick's wife, make sure you lock up the gun cabinet. He got the key. We don't need to say anything more. Another one was a shipmate of mine, and a bunch of us then we knew something was wrong. There are outward signs of depression, countenance, things that they say, behavior. The depression is so huge. And you see changes in their their habits, London?
Yeah, but let me just add to a little bit to that, Jim, and you're absolutely correct, and I appreciate you too, Charlynn, kind of breaking down that moral injury. I really wanted to hear that, but I want to kind of this lethal means, because you talked about the individual getting the, gun cabinet. The one of the more important things that we do as well with the VCL is, asking, hey, do you have any weapons in your home? Or there's a casual conversation that moves into, the safety of their weapon. If they have a weapon, where are you keeping it? Are you keeping it next to your bed? And they tell us, we're also offering gun locks if they need gun locks. So, it's real important to be able to share with veterans, about lethal means. And a lot of veterans these days, as we know, they are gun owners. But lethal means is not just a gun. Lethal means can be, knife cutting or, taking medications, overdosing on those things. So you want to be able to, speak to them in terms of, hey, how is your medication management? Is it a lot, or, you just want to be able to kind of strategically be in a place where you can have these comfortable conversations with them and make them feel comfortable, get them to feel comfortable so that they can share with you some of the issues that they may be battling, because they may not think that the gun or the knife or the medication that they're taking is a big deal. It might not be lethal to them, but we just want to be aware of that.
Would both of you guys agree or at least comment that I think addictions are a trigger, or addictions are a part of the mental health? So somebody who drinks enormous amounts of alcohol, somebody who smokes an enormous amount of marijuana, somebody who uses heavy-duty drugs, heroin, cocaine, whatever. These are toxic signs with these addictions that let us know this person is in tremendous trouble.
Yeah.
Would you guys comment on that?
Charlynn, I'm going to let you take that one.
Well,
I'll get the back end.
Well, what a lot of people, and now people are starting to be treated with this comorbidity as far as you have depression and an addiction, or, bipolar disorder and, drug use, is that people start out with a mental health condition, and then they try to self-medicate, and they're trying to make themselves feel better. And it can start, in adolescence, that alcohol or drug use is actually they're trying to medicate the symptoms of their mental illness. And then it progresses to where you're being treated as an alcoholic or a drug addict, but the origin of your alcoholism or drug addiction many times can have its root in a mental health diagnosis. That's why it is important to diagnose and understand and get treatment early. And there's even genetic research on why people die by suicide. People that die by suicide's brains look different than people who don't die by suicide. Just like, and that can certainly be said for alcoholism or drug addiction, that those people's brains, when they ingest that alcohol or that drug of choice, their brain reacts differently than a person that's not addicted's brain reacts. So understanding those underlying conditions, but also to have the community understand that suicidal ideation reaches a crisis point, and it has been proven through research that if you provide just 10 minutes of time between suicidal ideation and access to lethal means, you can stop that suicide. So, you're never going to get a gun away from a veteran. But I tell people, look, we know that, the suicide incident in the veteran community is so high because they're choosing 98% of the time the 98% most fatal lethal means. So just look, get a gun lock, put that key in a plastic bag and put it in the mayonnaise jar. Because for you to have to get that out of the mayonnaise jar, that breaks that neurotransmission and allows time for you to make a different choice. So those types of interruptions, and London, you said to have a comfortable conversation. I don't think those kinds of conversations are ever really comfortable, but it is when you say the word suicide, are you thinking about suicide? You let the other person know, hey, I'm not scared of it. I'm here with you. My goal is to keep you safe. And Jim, as you were relating your story, you said we all knew something was wrong, but he did not get directed into treatment or into help because people are like, oh, well, somebody else can say, somebody else will say something, or, the higher ups are going to say something. It's not our place. He'll hate me. We hear many times people say, oh, I can't call the police because they'll hate me. And I said, well, they'll be alive to hate you. That's okay.
And one friend of mine's son was ex-military, and he called the police and told them that there was somebody in his apartment with a gun, and it was him. And so when the police came through the door, he pulled the gun on him, and that was the end of that. It was police by cop. London, you were going to ask something?
Yeah. So just to kind of clarify, so what we are doing, when I say, and believe me, Ms. Charlynn, you're actually correct. They're not comfortable conversations by no means. But as peer support, we want to be able to try to give them that support to kind of segue into a comfortable spot where they can, because when veterans are talking with other veterans, we're able to share information with one another that they're probably not going to share, like, for instance, with a first responder or a suicide prevention responder on the VCL side. So that's why the peer support combination with them, we're able to just kind of give them that area where they can share, where they're able to share, as you were saying earlier, about them being able to share and get in a place where they can share their experience and information before we can get to the point to where they're having those huge thoughts and things of that nature.
Now, one of the things, Diane and I subscribe to the Center for Brain Health here in Dallas, and we watched an incredible video the other night from the Center of Brain Health. And it's about the neuroscience of addiction, and there's actually a book. So put this down, and if you want to, contact me. We'll get you the information to get the book. It's on Amazon. The Neuroscience of Addiction by Frances Filbey, Filbey. That's by Francesca, Francessa Filbey, Filbey. So the neurosciences of addiction is talking about what you had mentioned earlier, Charlynn, about brain patterns. Some of this is genetic. Some of this is caused by too much alcohol or too many drugs. You can change your brain. You can also change your brain to going back and improve your brain. I'll never forget, as a certified senior advisor, we had a group of CSAs that met every month, and a lady came to speak, and she said, I had a major stroke 2.5 years ago, and I couldn't walk and I couldn't talk. And I said to myself, wait a minute, lady, you're a PhD, you're standing up here and you're talking to us, and you walked in. Well, she used brain retraining to be able to regain her ability to talk and her ability to walk. It's very simple. We always thought if you damage your brain, that's it, you're done. That's not true. with the neuroscience of addiction, there are things that can be done to reverse addiction. And I think addiction, and people get to a certain point in the addiction. A friend of mine who died as a result of alcoholism, not from suicide, but from getting cancer as a result, basically told me, till you hit that bottom point, till you are just crying out for help, till you are broken and you're laying in the gutter, you don't get it. Well, I don't think it needs to go that far, because if you have a family member that you think is bipolar, if you have a family member that you think is struggling, if you know within your family these issues have come up and struggling. I know, for instance, my Uncle Jimmy, I was named for him. He was a B-17 pilot, World War II. Let me tell you, 18 months in a German POW camp, Uncle Jimmy had a real problem with alcohol.
Yeah, but to that, to just add a little bit, Jim, I'm with you all the way. It shouldn't end that way, but unfortunately, if we're not, if we don't have the information ourselves as veterans, and the other thing is that we have to know within ourselves that we want to change versus needing to change. I know I need to change, but I got to want it first before I can need it, because there's no way that I'll be able to need something and then just take advantage of it is what I'll do. But let me be in a position to want it, because I want my life to change. You said, you know, when enough is enough is enough, when I'm at the bottom, that's typically where the change starts.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I gotta tell you, we're going to take a break to hear from our partners. Then we're going to come back and wrap this up, bring this program into the dock. This is Jim Blythe and London Mason, who is a peer support specialist in working with suicide prevention. Charlynn Johns with Stop One. We're going to give out that address again for you can go. We're going to post it on our site. So this is Jim Blythe. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave. And you know this gets replayed nationwide. So when I come back, Charlynn, I want to make sure again, because London mentioned resources, I want to direct people to Stop One as a resource, right?
Yeah, and I also want to say this too. Now I work for the Veterans Crisis Line, but I work in a position where we receive referrals, because I believe I mentioned that earlier, but I never said what that place was. So that place is actually called the Peer Support Outreach Center, which is an outreach, outbound call center only for now, because of the population that we deal with, clients with complex needs. And so it's an outbound. We make the appointments, we call the veterans, and then we, try to see if we can reach out, make a connection, build rapport, and see if we can get some wellness recovery going.
And one of the things about us veterans, and Charlynn, you have said this to me in the past, and London, you too, veterans seem to have this Superman attitude that we don't need help. Well, the last thing I want to do is go see a doctor. My wife will laugh and tell you about that. And yet there are many times when we need to go see the doctor.
Right.
When we need a checkup, when we need a chance to be lifted up.
Yeah.
So...
And the only issue with that, the only reason why that is, Jim, is that just as well as I know that when we're in the military service, there's always been a mission that we had to accomplish.
Yeah.
And when that mission actually stops and we're out of the military and now we're a veteran, okay, what's the next mission? And no, you're not going to tell me that I need to go to this hospital and I need to go here and I need to go there. Well, I know how all of that stuff works. And that's how our minds are trained, compartmentalizing different things from the service that actually plays out in real life when we get out there in the community.
And again, we want to give out the suicide prevention number, 1-800-273-8255 or 273-TALK. Press 1 if you're a veteran. And this is a nationwide deal. Charlynn, when we come back on the air, again, make sure we give everybody your website And there is a wonderful thing on Stop One. We can all prevent suicide. It's a one-page deal that I think is really, really, really good.
Yeah, and it pops up when you go to the website. That's the first thing that pops up. Know the signs of suicide. You can download it. You can print it. You can access it from your phone. And the more people get comfortable with talking about mental health issues and talking about crisis, hey, people are so focused on the latest keto and Pilates and all the other health realms, and because of the stigma associated with mental health, people don't talk about their feelings. They don't talk about emotions. They don't talk about, the dysregulation that's occurring, that they're drinking more to feel better about. They talk about, they offer all kinds of, hey, I just tried this new thing.
All right, here we go. We're going to be right back on the air, and let's put that on.
Listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, today is a very important day in terms of trying to help one person recover, help one person stop committing suicide, help one family get out of the terrible, terrible pit that happens. So again, I want to welcome Charlynn Johns as we wrap this up. Charlynn, tell everybody where to go to find your information. That is a tremendous resource.
Go to www.stop1.info and find out today how you can be the one to stop one.
In London, how can people go to get a hold of you guys with the Peer Network that you do this? Where can they go?
That same number, Jim, the Veterans Crisis Line number is the number that you'll be able to reach. And once you dial that number and press 1, if you're wanting to speak with a veteran, you will be transferred to, as a referral, to the Peer Support Outreach Center, and you'll be connected with a peer if that's something that you really want to desire to work with.
That's 800-273-TALK, press 1. And I got to tell you, somebody that's got mental disorders, mood disorders, they're up and down, schizophrenia, anxiety, they can't sleep at night. Real problems with sleeping. Alcohol, substance abuse, where they're trying to self-medicate, as Charlynn was talking about. Hopelessness. I can't get a job. I can't keep a job. I've got this problem. I've got that problem. Impulsive or aggressive tendencies. Boy, I tell you what, I think we've all seen that. But a history of trauma or abuse. Let me tell you something. There isn't a person in this country that hadn't had some history of abuse or trauma somewhere, whether you're military or just getting on the freeways. And then physical illnesses, COVID. COVID is having repercussions that we don't even completely understand as of yet. And then again, if you've had previous suicide, you can go to Stop One Info, and Charlynn has developed this wonderful page to be able to help you know the risk factors, know the warning signs. Help Stop One. So again, Charlynn, tell us where to go.
www.stop1.info.
So Charlynn, in one word or more, I want people to know you can do this virtual. You don't have to be here in Dallas. You can be anywhere in the world and get this information, either online or the virtual training that you guys do, correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
We re-recorded it, so you can access it anytime.
Anytime. And so if you got a family member, if you yourself are feeling bad. But London, one of the things that I think you said, and I looked right straight in a person's eyes not too long ago, And I said, do you know what Jesus said to the cripple at the pool of Bethesda? He goes, no. I said, he looked at him in the eyes and he said, do you want to get well?
Gotta want it.
You gotta want it. If you want to get well, there are resources. If you're a family member and you want that person to get well, there are resources to help people. Again, go to stop1.info. Call the suicide prevention hotline, 800-273-TALK. Press 1 if you're a veteran, even if you're in the VA. So I want to close with a prayer. Lord God, we just thank you for all of our veterans. Guide them, keep them safe, and help them as they help everyone in our community. Protect and watch over our active duty military as they go around the world to be able to keep us safe. And protect, oh Lord, our missionaries who go around the world not only to spread the gospel, but to spread the message of peace and being able to work together. So God, we thank you for these people. We thank you for the first responders. We thank you for the medical. And we thank you for those who want it stopped. One. This we pray in Christ's name today. Amen. This is Alliance for the Brave. We're here for you, London. Thank you for being on board. Thank you to Robin Valtudo, our executive director, for my wife, Diane, all she does, for Atoya, your wife, for what she does, and especially our new member, Fred McKinnon. You want to go to Team Fred and take a look at what he's doing in suicide prevention by using comedy. Isn't anything funny about watching somebody die? And yet we know whatever you do to come together as a team, you're going to help people.